All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott from Jeff Teaches Programming. In the last video, as you can see up there right now, I talked a little bit more about some more object-oriented programming terminology, and in particular, I talked about the use of a repository or a repository class or classes. So what I have done is I have my 8th iteration of this console program here. So this is going to now say 8th. All right. And in this 8th iteration, I will add I'm going to call it a BMI class library with the following classes in it. In fact, rather than BMI class library, let's say folder with the following classes in it. 1, person class. This will represent one individual and his or her BMI data. 2, BMI calculator class. This will represent the BMI and BMI status calculations. We'll call it, since it's person, we're going to call this person repository. This will store and manage all of the user records. And finally, we will have we'll call it a program that's really it. We will also have our main in whatever we call this, I guess program.cs. This is what's here right now. All right, so let's start by going over here, and I'm going to right mouse click on the solution, and I'm going to add a new folder. I want a new, let's see, new item. Will it allow me to put a folder in here? I thought it would. No, let's see, show all templates, no, cancel. Huh, I thought that I could come in here and add a new folder whenever I wanted to. See, I don't want to do that. See, there's new folder. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to try to do and see if we can get it to work like this. I'm going to right mouse click on here, and I'm going to click add and new folder. And I'm going to call this BMI classes. All right, and I'm going to see if I can use it for both. I guess I'll have to do that later though. Okay, so in here, I'm first going to add my person class. So I want to add a class, and this will be person.cs. Okay. It's going to look somewhat similar to what we did before. All right, we're going to have public string. Oops. I'm going to try that again, Jeff. Public string first name. And for now, at least, we're only going to care about the get. All right. So let me, I want a last name. And a height and a weight. So we've got our height, our first name, our last name, our height, and our weight. We'll need a double for the BMI. And we'll need a string for the BMI status. Okay, so those are our properties. And you'll notice here, good, bad, indifferent, whatever, I am going to be using these in the program, and I am going to make them public. All right, so let's do our constructor. Public person. We'll have string first name, string last name, int height, int weight, double BMI, string BMI status. All right. Nope, need a comma. BMI, that should have been a comma. There we go. All right. So first name equal first name, last name equal last name, height equal height, weight. Oops, that should be a capital. Sorry. Height equal height. And height. I don't know why it doesn't like that, but we'll see. Weight equal weight. Doesn't like either one of those, so we'll have to look at them in just a minute. BMI equals BMI, and BMI status equal BMI status. Now let's see if we can figure out why these doesn't like these. It says height does not exist in the current context. Int. That should be a capital H. And that should be a capital W. Shame on me. There we go. Okay. And believe it or not, that's it for our person class. So that's first class. Okay. So we're creating a class that's got basically the same variables that we used in our program, those being height, first name, last name, height, weight, BMI, and BMI status, but they're inside of this person class now. They're all getters, all right? We're not going to worry about setting them right now. They'll be set in the actual program itself. In our constructor, we're going to pass in a first name, a last name, a height, a weight, a BMI, and a BMI status, and that's going to set these. All right, that's why we don't have to worry about setters, basically. All right, so that's the first one. All right, I'm going to save all. And let's see. So that's my first class. Second, I'm going to make my BMI calculator class. All right, And this is not going to be a very big class either. In fact, let's go back to what we just added there with person. And we're not using any of this stuff. I am going to leave this. Oops. I am going to leave system. I just like that in there. I feel better with that in there, but I don't think we need the rest. So file, save all, and now we're going over to BMI calculator, and we're going to do the same thing. All right. And we're going to have the global constants that we had before. In other words, const double min OPT equals 18.5. That's the minimum for a optimal weight. Const double min over, and that's going to be equal to 25.0, and that's the minimum for an overweight person, the minimum BMI. And const min obese, which is going to be equal to 30.0, which is the minimum for an obese. All right, so we've got those done. There's a little more to do here, but that's a good start. All right. And what else do we want to put in here? Well, we need a couple. So public static double calculate BMI. We'll have to pass in a height and a weight. I just did H and W. We don't really need, we can call them height and weight if we want to, but that's just going to return 703.0 times the weight divided by the height times the height. That's it. That's the whole thing right there. And we'll have another public static string, which will be get BMI status. All right. And in order to do that, it will need the BMI. So double BMI. Move this back up here. All right, so if BMI is less than the min-opt, BMI equals underweight. I got rid of those unders and all the other ones that I had before. I don't really need those, so that's not BMI equals, I'm sorry. In fact, I had created a variable up here that I was going to return at the end. I'll just put it here. String status equals nothing. All right, so if that's it, status equals underweight. Else, if BMI is less than min over, status equal optimal weight. Else, if BMI is less than min obese, status equal overweight. Else, status equal obese. And finally return status. And that is it for that class. All right. So we've got two classes in here so far. In fact, what I should do, let me go File, Save All. Let's build both these and make sure they work. So build build solution. Okay, it's telling me that looks like I'm missing. Yep, somehow I lost a curly brace. There we go. So let's try that again. Why is it there? Don't know what happened there. So File, save all. Let's try to build this. So rebuild this solution and make sure it works. And it does. Let's go over, so that's our BMI calculator. Let's go over to our person and rebuild solution here. And that works. So let's do our last class then, which is going to be our person repository. So again, we're going to add a class. And there's nothing magical about this name. Person repository. All right. And again, let's get rid of everything except for the import system. All right. Now this class, okay, not sure if it should really be public, but we're going to leave it for public right now. Well, I don't know what happened there. Let's try that again. Private read-only list person people equals new list person. We're missing a curly, it looks like. What's happening to my curly braces here? All right. We'll have a public void add. When we are going to add a record to the list. Whoa, hello. And it'll be people.addPerson. Okay, so we got that one. Now I'm wondering if I have do I have too many in here? And file expected. Huh. Something's goofed up with this, but we're going to fix it, so don't worry about it. It'll be fixed in a moment. All right. All right, well, the public list person, we'll just call this get all, because it's going to be able to return all records. How about get all people? All right, and that'll return people. Okay, what's happening here with these? All right, finally we'll have a public void clear. In fact, I'm going to take my methods and make them uppercase, as you can see. All right, just to kind of differentiate them from regular functions. So public void clear, and that'll be simply people.clear. And one more, we're going to say public bool is empty, and that will be returning true or false if people.count is equal to 0. So let's take a look here, because this one's a little bit more in it than what we've seen before. So let's see, let me move these over and these over here. looks a little better, and this over as well. All right, now we've got this. It says it doesn't have an ending curly. It should be going right here. No. There's one. Public people repository. Okay, these should be moved over. Another one. So should these. So should these. So should this. And this. But it doesn't like something I've done here. Internal class. Made it internal, which we'll have to talk about that in a bit. So private. No, I don't know why that's there. There. We don't need that now. All right, I got to move all these over one. All right, and then we'll talk about this. All right, what do we have here? Okay, notice it added the generic because we did bring back in a list. All right. We've got here the list. It's a read-only. All right, and that's going to hold our list of people. This will allow us to add another person to that list. This will allow us to print out all people. And this will clear the list. This will check to see if people.count is 0. If it is empty, will be true because it's 0. Otherwise, it'll be false. All right. Internal is really kind of when you create classes quite often, or most of the time, if not all the time, it's what you get by default. And again, with a lot of this stuff, I'm probably not the best person for explaining this, so let's see. What is a C# internal class? It's accessible only within the same project. All right? Okay. So we've now written all of our classes, so let's do a file, save all. And I want to look back at my notes here. And let's go back to the calculator. And I'm going to make that internal too. I guess it already did. And the person, that's internal as well. Good. So the person repository, the one we just did, let's do a file, save all, and let's see if we can build this one. Okay. So we have all of our classes now. That's good. All right, so let's go back over to, I'm going to leave these open, but let's go back over to our program.cs file that's right here. Okay, and that's because that's basically all we have left. All right, so let's see. We've got here namespace that, boy, this is bad. Shouldn't be namespace 5th. See if we can rename this. Include everything. Just tell it to. Hopefully that's not going to present any kind of problem. We'll see in just a moment. We can still, we've got here internal class program. We have our max height, max weight, min height, and min weight. That looks fine. We no longer need these because we have them inside. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to comment these out because I want to try to show you what we're basically getting rid of, for lack of better words. All right, we also don't need any of these lists anymore. So you can see we've already removed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 lines of code. All right. In fact, it's going to get too unwieldy here, so I'm just going to literally remove them. All right. Okay. So we're inside of main right now. And I've got this keep running. I'm going to keep that in there. I think I might need that. And I've got my welcome to BMI version. This will be 08-OOP. All right. So while keep running, choice equal. If it's a 1, I don't want to call create menu anymore. I want to call input person, which I haven't written yet, so I'm going to get an error, and that's okay. All right, really, that's okay. So I'm going to try to be consistent here. So input person. Again, it hasn't been written, which is, oops, that isn't right. Yeah, that is right. I'm sorry. So while keep running, we don't need this choice. All right. Whoops. We want to switch, but we want to switch on show menu. I don't think that's been written yet, and that's okay. All right. So don't worry, I'm going to get a bunch of errors here. So, all right. Case 1, we're calling it input person record. Because we're in here and we've always been doing these inside of here in lowercase. So I'm going to leave that input person record. 2, view all existing records. 3, clear all existing records. 4, to exit the program. So we've got all that done. That's good. So this create menu, in fact, I can just keep that because we'll switch on create menu. Okay, well, that's what we called it before. Oops. Switch on. Create menu. That's fine, but we're calling it a function. So we're going to switch on what that returns. Okay, so there's our choice. We can clear first. BMI calculator version 8. Trying to keep as much code as we had in here before. Number 1, input new person record. Number 2, view all existing records. Number 3, clear all existing records. Number 4, exit the program now. Please enter a 1, 2, 3, or 4 now. All right. And we, just so you know, this is fine what we did, choice equal read line, but we also could have said basically return read line here. That's going to give us an error because we've got 2 returns in here. And that would be unreachable code. So return read line. In fact, let's bring this down here and like that. Okay. All right. So now we have input new person record. Okay. All right. So we've got, let's see where I am for time. All right, we're at 30 minutes. I'm going to stop right now and I'm going to pick it up in the next lecture immediately. I'm going to try to finish this tonight. Be right back.